Attention. Due to the nature of the films discussed, the Civil Gore podcast may contain adult language and themes.
Hey there, everybody. Welcome to episode 45 of the Civil Gore podcast. I'm your host, Tim.
And this is Brian.
And welcome to our Oscar and Star Wars special.
Yes, of course, because we decided we had enough of horror, and you guys probably did too. So we're gonna totally switch formats from now on. I hope you don't mind. We might even we're gonna tweak the title a little bit too. It's gonna be called Civil Wars. And no, just kidding, of course.
Yeah, but it's just so much fun to talk about stuff other than horror on occasion because me and Brian have other interests outside of horror. So when we get together and talk, it's so easy to run off on these little tangents.
Yeah, Tim and I are just like tangent machines, pretty much.
But hopefully you guys will bear with us. So let's get right into it. We have a really long dismemberment this week. So let's get right into our first chop. Okay, so Brian, usually I do not repeat movies, theatrical releases, unless they have Star Wars in the title.
Yeah.
But in this case, I made a rare exception. I just happened to have the opportunity to go see The Shape of Water again. And wobbled back and forth whether I was going to do it. And I was like, you know what? I actually do want to see that again to see if it holds up, if it's actually as good as I thought it was. And I really enjoyed it more the second time because I got to pay attention to the score and the camera work and the performances and stuff without being so focused on the story. And the only thing else I want to say about it is, even if you haven't seen the movie, go look for the soundtrack. The soundtrack is phenomenal. It's up for Best Score, and it's really, really good. It's got all these French music influences that are kind of cool because Del Toro said this was his French movie. So you got, some of the like lilting accordion stuff interwoven in there, but it's also got kind of the dark creepiness, but also very beautiful. It's hard to describe. So if you haven't heard any of the music from this movie, go seek it out. It's one of those soundtracks you could actually just put on and play in the background because it's not jarring. It doesn't have a lot of loud bangs and noises and stuff. Some of the soundtracks, you drift off to sleep and then all of a sudden you're woken up at 2 a.m. with the cymbals crashing or something. But
yeah, but if it's a French score, is it like a lot of
no, it's not like Beauty and the Beast.
Oh, okay. It's not like Lumiere or whatever.
No.
Now we present your soundtrack.
But it's really good. I used to collect movie soundtracks, and this score actually makes me wish I still bought physical media because I would love to just own it. But I've got Amazon Prime, so I just stream it whenever I want to now.
Well, yeah, and it's funny you said that with the soundtrack too. Yeah, because I still to this day, even though I don't always buy them when I see it, unless it's like a really good deal, but a lot of times like you go to those old like record stores, the first section I go to always is the record soundtracks because it's just you never know what because back in the day they literally made a soundtrack for everything. Mm-hmm. And I noticed at some point they do, they kind of went two ways nowadays. Sometimes they'll do like a separate score, sometimes they'll do a deluxe version of everything, or you get nothing.
Right.
You get so it's like it's hard to tell sometimes what you actually get out of it. So, but back then I remember the soundtracks were like so cool to get from. Like I remember, obviously, I know this is again off topic again, but I remember one of my favorites as a kid was the Grease one because remember it was like 2 records.
Oh yeah, I love the Grease.
And it would open up. Yeah, so it's like stuff like that was kind of really cool. So
yeah, so this is a great score. Go check that one out. And I wanted to go on my Oscar tangent for just a second. Don't worry, guys. In a month, this will all be over with. You want to listen to me talk about it?
Won't be as and it hopefully won't be as long as our last Oscar.
No, this was
last month.
No, I've seen 8 of the 9 Best Picture nominees, and I think I have it down to what my pick is for what's going to win. And I wanted to explain my reasoning. This is my logic. I'm going to just run through them, and I'm going to tell you why they won't win, and I'll save the one that's going to win for last. Okay. So first up is The Post. Timely. It's political. Shoe-in for Oscar, right? Steven Spielberg, no. This one's too dry. It's a good movie, but it's kind of dull. I have to say, it's just kind of dry. It's very timely, but it's got Meryl Streep, it's got Tom Hanks. In any other year, this might be a shoe-in, But this year, it just doesn't have the pizzazz of some of the other nominees, so the post is out. Lady Bird. Lady Bird's really, really good. The only reason I don't think this one's going to win Best Picture is because its odds have been on the decline in the past couple of weeks. I don't really know why that is, but the odds makers have that one kind of going down, 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 down.
You know why? I think because I just interrupt. I think when it first got announced, a lot of people thought they were talking about Ladybugs with Rodney Dangerfield.
Oh yeah,
and,
well that would have been
the re-release of that was so huge that I think it kind of confused some people.
That could be.
Yeah.
Whoa, I don't know what I'm talking about here. Okay. No respect, not even from the Academy.
Gotta throw Rodney in there.
But anyway, so this one, like I said last episode, kind of reminded me of Juno. It's kind of got that quirky comedy drama thing going on. But again, it doesn't have that that Oscar hook, that the Oscar people like to vote on movies that have meaning and send a message. And Lady Bird is cute and it's adorable and it's charming, but I don't know that it has that real good strong message. So I'm counting that one out. Get Out. Oh, Get Out. I want this one to win, but it's not going to win because it's a horror movie. Next.
So unfair.
Dunkirk and The Darkest Hour I'm going to put in the same category. I like Darkest Hour better than Dunkirk. I thought it was more interesting just because Gary Oldman is going to definitely win Best Actor, hands down, for his portrayal of Winston Churchill. It's amazing. Like, you forget you're watching Gary. He literally disappears behind the makeup. It's an astounding performance.
Oh, wow.
The movie is worth watching just for that alone. But you got 2 World War II movies. I think they're going to dilute each other's vote pool. So that's why I think
cancel.
I think they're going to cancel each other out.
Yeah.
So no on Dunkirk or Darkest Hour. Call Me by Your Name. I did watch that one. Last year we had Moonlight, which was a coming of age gay story. This is a coming of age gay story. I don't think you're going to have 2 of those win 2 years in a row. So that one's out. It's a great movie. Nothing wrong with it. It's fine, but I think it's too close in message to the last Best Picture winner.
See, I hate though. That's the thing that always bothers me about the Oscars is when they do, and it's something that's obvious that they do that, where they're like, oh well, no, this type of movie won already, so we're not going to do it. Or they'll have 2 movies that are so close, and they just take the lazy way out and let them cancel each other out, rather than really like go hardcore and try and pick to see if one of them is truly worthy enough to win.
Yeah, you kind of have to read into the politics and the mindset. You can't just go by which is the actual best movie.
And that's which is ridiculous if you think about it, because it's Best Picture, it's Best Movie. What makes the best movie? What, the best message it sends? No, it's the best movie.
Anyway, so that leaves 3 movies: Phantom Thread, 3 Billboards, and The Shape of Water. Phantom Thread, I don't know anything about. I haven't watched it yet. It's the only one on my list I haven't watched.
Watch, that'll be the one that wins, right?
Probably. But it's 50s fashion designers. I'm like, I don't know. It's notable because Daniel Day-Lewis' supposedly final movie. But
okay.
So I can't
in mustache or just in general.
No mustache either.
No mustache. So
wow. That's also that's almost a guarantee. Win. Yes, it can't win.
Yeah, when she takes the mustache, he doesn't win those. Well, actually, my left foot, he won. But okay, forget that. Later on in his career, when he has the mustache, is the only chance he has to win.
Yeah. Well, so 3 Billboards could be the upset. It could be the upset.
Really?
It could be the upset.
Wow.
Because in my mind, of all the movies I've watched, out of the 8 that I've watched, it's probably the one that made me think the most after I left the theater. Like it really kind of dug into my mind for a little bit, and it's just a really strong performances all around. It's got a good story. It's got good messaging. It's very strong in all the little check boxes. The one thing I think it lacks is the same thing that Lady Bird lacks, and that is that Oscar hook that the Academy likes. It's a very low budget indie film, which Oscar does love, but it doesn't have. I just can't. I don't know where that hook is that's going to get them to vote for that over my pick, which is The Shape of Water. Now, this may sound like the easy pick because it came in with the most nominations, but that's not why I'm thinking it's going to win. The reason I think it's going to win is because it checks every checkbox, and I don't see any weaknesses. You've got a well-known, well-respected director. You've got, most importantly, and I think this is why it's going to win, is it is a loving homage to old Hollywood. And there's nothing,
that's a good point.
nothing the Academy likes better than movies that glorify Hollywood. We've seen it again and again and again. Actors and producers and directors love watching movies about themselves. And The Shape of Water is very, very strong in... It's filled with old movie clips, and the main character lives above an old theater. It's got sequences that evoke old Hollywood. I think that is the reason this is going to win, hands down. Calling it right now: Shape of Water, Best Picture, and probably Del Toro as Best Director.
Oh, well, I mean, I hope that happens because I do like him and the fact that they kind of did that with that movie. But now you made me think though. I'm wondering if Greta Gerwig just made a slight adjustment to Lady Bird, added Barbra Streisand and called it Funny Lady Bird, that would have gave it that old school Hollywood flair and maybe got it. What do you think?
Or added Tom Hanks and made it Big Bird.
No, that's not really a pun. But yeah. Oh, that. Yeah. I feel like I should come in as Snuffleupagus and just like, oh, bird. But yeah. Well.
Speaking of which, there's a new character being introduced for the Muppet Babies reboot.
I saw that, the little penguin, yeah.
So
that's cool.
And that's how we got Muppet Babies into a horror movie podcast.
Exactly.
That's how you do it.
Didn't think it could be done, but we've done it.
Oh my gosh. Okay, I'm off my soapbox. Oscar talk is done. Prediction locked in. See you back after February 28th or whenever the things are. And some Oscar fan I am. I don't even know when they air.
and just today, whoever, if Tim is right, he will recite the most Oscar worthy of all performances and deliver every one of Kevin James's lines from Paul Blart 2. Because nothing says Oscar like that.
I won't do that, but I will come on here and will deliver my acceptance speech for my I told you so.
There we go. That will be fun. And just if you haven't could tell, we tend to ramble on here. So, but I will cut the Civil War Orchestra for the night. They will not be present, so Tim could go on and do his longest speech as possible. He can even exit the stage whichever way he wants.
There's people frantically trying to cue orchestra music right now. Just get them off the stage.
Someone hit their Apple Music. Okay, yeah.
Da, 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 da. It gets getting louder and louder.
And we may I think we would have to maybe call some of our celebrity friends that have made appearances on this show to present Tim to go up there to do his acceptance speech. So I think that might be a little fun thing in the works there. I don't know who that may be, but we'll see. Okay.
Let's get back to horror before we get to Star Wars.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, we're way off here. Okay.
All right, so if you watched the fantastic Super Bowl Sunday night.
Yeah, that really was. From beginning to end, right through, every element of that Super Bowl was fun, including Tom Brady losing, which was even the best capper you could possibly have. On
it was so entertaining.
Yeah, even though poor Ken, I know he was rooting for Tom Brady for some reason.
Well, he's probably the one Civil War fan that was rooting for Tom Brady. So.
Probably, yeah. He's got to be the only one here.
But anyway, hats off to the Patriots. They played the hell of a game. Like it was like they were like it was like trying to kill a zombie. I said on
it really was
a Facebook post. I was like, they're harder to kill than zombies. You have to go for the head.
And that's Tim bringing horror into the sports. You see?
He just kept getting back up like Michael Myers. Brady just kept getting back up. I was like, just kill him.
I know. They're like, you got to chop his head off. But no, they didn't. It was.
But anyway, so there was a surprise announcement during the Super Bowl, and me and Brian were both like, what?
I know.
That the third Cloverfield movie, which was formerly known as the God Particle, but was now called Cloverfield Paradox, was going to drop on Netflix right after the Super Bowl. And basically Netflix was giving a big middle finger to NBC's This Is Us finale.
Yeah.
They're like, hey, yeah, anybody who doesn't want to watch sappy family dramas, come over here. I love This Is Us, by the way, so I'm allowed to say
I haven't seen it, so I don't.
It's a phenomenal show. I'm just teasing, but anyway, so I told Brian I'm staying up for this. He said he's staying up for it. So what were your thoughts, Brian?
Well, Now, I will preface this by saying, first of all, I love the Cloverfield series, and we've discussed this before, in the previous episode, how I love the first one, we love the second one, even though it's not as rewatchable as, let's say, the first, but I just love the entire premise of the whole Cloververse, which they've fondly named it, this whole thing. And what I loved about this, and it's going to be hard for me to go into, I can't really go into too much detail on why I loved it, because I want to give everyone a chance to have seen it. I mean, I know pretty much almost everybody in the world now has Netflix. And since it's available now, you really have no excuse not to watch it by the time this episode drops on Friday. But I will still respect our usual rule. If it's out this soon, I mean, literally, it was out last night. So it's not 24 hours and hasn't even been available yet. So I will not, from the day of this recording. So I'm not going to go into why, but I basically just love the fact that they took this and just put it in and basically kind of gave the whole universe why it is, if that makes any sense without going into detail. I mean, basically there were tie-ins and nods and Easter eggs to the other two movies, some more subtle than others. And I will say this, it is a very, very confusing thing what they've done with it. But I still, you know what, I know some people bashed it, but I absolutely loved it. I loved the actors that they chose for it. I loved the performances in it. Was it cheesy? Was it weird at times? Was it a little far-fetched? All of the above, I guess you could say. But I still ate it up. I loved all of it. And it's just a universe that I invested in, so it would really have to be like a pile of filth for me not to have enjoyed it at some level. And I was just so excited that the way it came out, I loved the surprise element of the promotion. Like, J.J. Abrams found a way to take a movie that we knew was coming out for 2 years and still surprise us with it. I mean, that's incredible. I mean, to me, I'm sitting there in my head waiting for April for this thing and trying to keep it out of my head so I didn't remember it, But we got it last night, and I stayed up and watched it and loved it. And I know Tim may not be as enthusiastic about it as I was, but I know he enjoyed it to some degree.
Yeah, I was entertained. I don't know if I'm quite as enthusiastic about it, but then again, I'm not as enthusiastic about Cloverfield in general as you are. In fact, I think I've only seen the first one once, and I think I've only seen the second one once. Doesn't mean I didn't like it. I love both of the movies, but I'm just not really heavy into it. And so I enjoyed this one. It is a little derivative of other sci-fi horror type things you've seen. Very Event Horizon-ish. It reminded me a lot of Event Horizon.
And someone compared it to Black Mirror, too, like a Black Mirror type of episode, which I totally saw also.
Yeah, it's very... And I won't go into any further spoilers than that. My only fear with it, it's kind of the flip side of what Brian loves, which is the tie-ins with the Cloverfield universe. My only fear is... Are we getting movies that are shoehorned into the Cloverfield universe rather than built from the ground up? And I don't know the answer to that because I've heard that 10 Cloverfield Lane was originally not even related to Cloverfield, and they kind of
that one. It. Yeah, I did hear that one. That one definitely, I feel like they kind of tucked in. But it's funny. This one though, I think it was attempt to kind of like give you a reason behind the universe. I think, and so it's like I don't think this one was, and I think that makes actually the plot to the fourth one. After you see this one, the plot to the fourth one, the premise will make sense a little more because, like I said, I'm trying to be very careful not to give anything away, but that's that. I think if you see this, you'll see what I mean by that statement. I'll just leave it at that.
Yeah, so I'm going to reserve judgment. I will say this was not worth watching. You should watch it. It's entertaining enough to watch. You're not wasting your time. But because that does have some really good scenes. But I'm reserving judgment before I get too hyped about the next one. So we'll see what happens. Now, speaking of crazy movies, I watched KUSO on Shudder. And if you've watched any of the show The Core on Shudder, which is kind of their little 30-minute horror, I don't know what you call it. It's like sort of like they just talk about different horror movies, and usually they have a guest director or something on there. I believe their second episode was the guy that directed KUSO, And the way they described this movie, I was like, I've got to see this. I mean, it was talking about like this, the grossest movie ever made, and just bizarre. People at Sundance were walking out of the theater and all this stuff. So I was like, I've got to see this for myself.
Walk out a lot from Sundance movies. I've noticed.
Well, I mean,
and it's used in promotion. You know?
Yeah. So anyway, I texted Brian this. I said, this is without a doubt the strangest movie I've ever seen, and I will stand by that 100%. This is the weirdest movie I have ever seen. It is a series of vignettes, I would say, because there's no real plot. You could almost look at it as a themed together anthology if you wanted to take each segment on its own, but I wouldn't really say that because each segment doesn't really stand alone as a complete story, and then sometimes there's callbacks and they go back and forth and they twist between characters and stuff. And then the basic premise is that there was an earthquake, and for some reason everybody now has these large boils and pus and stuff on their face from the earthquake. I don't know if it released radiation or what happened. And you've basically got these characters. I don't even know where to begin with this. It's like there's one scene where there's this hillbilly looking guy with sores all over his face. He's staring down into a creek. Another guy comes up to see what he's looking at, and he's watching these cooked chickens, whole cooked chickens, swimming around in the creek bed. And
what?
And that's the least weird, probably one of the least weird scenes in this entire movie.
Does he turn and go, sometimes cooked is better?
No, that would have been at least amusing. But it's full of every bodily fluid you can imagine. Yeah, so there is for lack of a better term, there's a shit monster in the woods that literally eats shit that he's being fed by this guy. There's all kinds of really unusual sexual stuff in here that I can't go into without spoiling it, which you may want.
This is on Shudder.
This
right?
is on Shudder.
Okay.
It is, and then interspersed with all of this are these Monty Python-esque animations that just go on for just random periods of time of just creepy, weird imagery and I don't even know how to describe it. Boob monsters. Wow. And it's insane. Boob monsters. Wow. You have to watch it. You just have to watch it. It's not a good movie by any stretch of the imagination. I had to split it into two parts because I couldn't sit through the whole thing. It was just, I couldn't do it. It wasn't because it was too gross. I don't get grossed out by movies because I know it's all special effects. Like if somebody was really throwing up, I would be throwing up. But if it's on a movie person throwing up, I'm going, ha ha. And I'm trying to figure out what
Look at that soup.
Yeah, I'm trying to figure out what they made the vomit out of. So that doesn't bother me. It wasn't because I was grossed out. It was because it's just one of those movies that is so bizarre, you can only handle so much of it.
Gotcha.
I don't think I could sit through 2 hours of that. But yeah, KUSO. Go look that one up.
I think I might have to now.
Yeah. I really want to hear somebody else's impressions of that movie.
I will be the one. But if anyone else watches it, let Tim and I know.
Definitely. Yeah, even the director, he said, they basically asked him, why the hell did you do this? And he said it was sort of like, when you go to prison and to prove yourself, you have to punch the biggest guy in the room. He said, that's basically what I did. He said, I'm an indie filmmaker. It's my first film. He said, I basically just had to go out there and give something for people to talk about. So
I guess he did it.
Yeah.
We talked about it.
Yeah.
And if Civil Gore talks about it, you know it's important.
Yep, exactly. So we had another good surprise during the Super Bowl, and that was the first trailer for Solo.
Yes, about time, I tell you. Because being a Star Wars fan, I was almost like, are they playing with us? And maybe it's never coming out because the fact that this has not been promoted yet. I mean, I know, yes, Last Jedi came out. Never has two Star Wars basically of anything came out this short of a time. There's never been two movies of feature length films of Star Wars that have been this close together. I mean, I think they used to be 3 years apart. Now they've been doing a full year apart, and this was literally 6 months after Last Jedi came out. So, and this was supposed to come out, and there were talks of reshoots and talks of obviously everyone knows the whole story where Ron Howard had to come in and they basically reshot almost like, I think I saw something like 85% of it, and then he doubled the budget. And so, with all that stuff going on, there was rumors of it even being pushed back again to December. But, then I read, nope, they are sticking to that date. They want the date. So, you're like, okay, but when is this trailer coming out? This is unheard of that we're literally 4 months away, February, March, April, May. Yeah, 4 months away and nothing. I mean, barely an image. And now we got it. We got actually 2 trailers in 24 hours, technically. We got the little teaser during the Super Bowl, and then they released the full version today, which had mostly the same footage and then some. There was a couple more lines with Alden Ehrenreich. I don't know if I'm pronouncing his name correctly. But anyway, and so, here's the thing about it is, I haven't, and this is nothing against him. It is hard when you have someone as iconic as Harrison Ford playing a character, and then you swap it up with a younger version that's really not that much younger than when his character started. So that's the difficult thing. And then it's funny because you think of it, okay, well, Alec Guinness was Obi-Wan, but then you replace him with Ewan McGregor. But Ewan McGregor was known at that point, and he was iconic for different reasons, so he was pretty well already popular. This guy, not a lot of people know of him, and and Obi-Wan was still a very he was not the Han Solo caliber character.
No.
So
plus he was a lot older in the original movies, so you could get away with that time difference.
Yeah. So it's like you're arguably now doing an origin story to one of the most beloved characters in movie history, let alone just the Star Wars lore, and you're giving it to a nobody. So that's the thing. The look of the movie looked to me like Star Wars. It had that kind of and if you saw I don't know, they also released the movie posters. They had a Western feel to it, so they had that old school 70s type of Star Wars feel to it. But I haven't been able to adapt to him yet as Han Solo, which is it's more jarring than it is. And I could be completely wrong. They could be completely just giving you the little bits they want. That's Lucasfilm and Star Wars for you. They don't give you. They give you just enough to whet your appetite. And I'm sure there's going to be another full-length trailer within about a month or two that maybe gives you a little more. And they'll probably tease whatever. I can't tell what villain's in there. I heard rumors Jabba the Hutt's in there and somewhere, but we don't know what's going to happen, and you really don't know much about any of the other characters other than Lando, which Donald Glover looks amazing as Lando, I have to say. It's funny. That kind of I took to his character right away. Mm-hmm. Because he just had that Billy D flair, and I was just like, wow, he got it, without even having to say a word in the trailer. Just the look, the way he had the cool satin shirt on, and the same way Billy D had it in Bespin. So I'm just like, okay, that's gonna be cool. That's a really good thing. And then of course you saw Chewie in it, and that was kind of cool. But there was, out of the trailer goes, there wasn't anything that blew me away out of it, unless except for that one shot where you see the Star Destroyer coming out of that cloud or something. Mm-hmm. That was pretty cool. But like I said, it definitely has a Star Wars feel that's just on the cusp of the Star Wars universe, even though it features one of the most iconic characters. It's kind of funny. But it definitely has that feeling like it belongs in the universe. I just don't know if I'm going to adapt to it as a true Han Solo yet.
Yeah.
If that makes sense.
Well, at some point, Disney is going to make a bad Star Wars film. It's inevitable. Mm-hmm. It's going to happen. And I'm just...
And for those who say Last Jedi was it, shame on you.
Yeah,
because it was not.
Yeah. But I hope this is not the one, but it very well could be. This could be the one that everybody goes, eh.
Yeah.
But I hope not.
Yeah, and actually I saw a funny thing based on that whole Han Solo things. They already said how soon before the hashtag not my solo starts hitting the internet. Oh, yeah. Because but the funny thing about it was they said look how hard of a job that Alden Ehrenreich has when Mark Hamill was getting not my Luke Skywalker, and he's essentially playing the same character.
Yeah, you're right.
It's
so that's funny.
This guy, I tell you, I give him credit. This was a bold role to take people say, look, well, how could you turn down Han Solo's role? Well, you know what? He is just open himself for criticism for doing nothing but taking the role. The poor guy. He's up against something that's great. Now, what I'm hoping is, for his sake, that the movie is so great and he does just enough job that you get the feeling of Han Solo. I mean, there is a little like the little tease at the end of when he says it, when he goes, "Oh yeah, no, we're okay, we're fine here." Like that kind of harkens back to his little thing in the Death Star and A New Hope. So I kind of like at that point when he said, I'm like, okay, he's kind of got the Han Solo like comedic timing and the swagger,
like
and
the
smirkiness.
smirkiness.
Got that there, but whether he can hold it up for an entire movie, we'll see. I mean, I'm definitely still looking forward to it. It's Star Wars. I love Star Wars. It's kind of a little, like I said with the Cloverfield thing. I like you said, yes, it will probably be a bad Star Wars movie now. Where even I will have trouble like praising it. I would say. I mean, I'm gonna love it probably no matter what, unless it really is a pile of crap. But. Which I can't imagine that ever being, like, totally being a pile of crap being released as a Star Wars movie. And I know you guys who wrote through all the Episode 1 haters are like, well, excuse me, hold my beer. But no, it was still, I still love Episode 1 as part of the whole thing. I mean, I will admit it doesn't hold up as one. I have trouble watching it as much as, because I had seen it enough. I've seen it probably like 60, 70 times over the, so it's like, I've seen it enough to like skip it and not if I watch a marathon and be okay. But I do love Darth Maul and the whole thing. But anyway, so we won't get too off topic. I mean, we've literally talked so few about horror so far. In this
I told you it was the Oscar and Star Wars show. I warned you.
It really was. Yeah, it really was. So besides that, we'll have to have a Star Wars off topip episode.
At some point, we'll definitely have
at some point. Maybe around when Solo comes out, we'll just do a Star Wars special for maybe all those. For our Patreon, non-existent Patreon
our virtual Patreon users.
Yeah, we'll get all right, moving on. I'll take this right to everyone's favorite topic that I talk about.
We need to make this a segment.
This
needs to be its own segment.
It should have its own segment. So, Paul, if you're listening, get working on a sound effect, because this game. No, actually, it's funny. After I do this announcement, you actually may not hear much about it for a while, because that's kind of what the announcement's about. So, well, first I did try the new content with the Roy Jason, and
this is for the Friday the 13th game, by the way.
Yeah. Sorry, Friday. Yeah, good point. I should probably say what it was. Friday the 13th game. Yeah, and I downloaded the new stuff. The map is really cool. It does have that crazy lady's house, which is cool. So you can go in there, and the map is fantastic. I think actually it's one of my favorite maps because it's like. How there's always two road ends for when like you call the cops and you need to escape. Yep. This one, it's like a little confusing towards one end of it where the road it's dark and the road kind of curves around, so it's not so straightforward. So this map is a little confusing. Even when you can click on it and see where you're going, but it when you're not looking at the actual overhead map when you're trying to walk through it, it's pretty it's more confusing than some of the other maps, which I like. Because it's kind of a cool thing. And it's cool. The rooms are done perfectly in the Pinehurst, in the house there. It looks exactly, even the bunk bed room is in there, and Tommy's room is in there with that mask he made. So it's really well done, the map. And the Roy Jason is he's got some really cool kills. It comes with the garden shears. So he's got a couple of cool different kills with that. Yeah. And I haven't seen it in the game. I've seen it online. You can unmask him, and it's actually the actor's face, Dick Whelan, I guess.
Right? Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, so it's Roy's face is in there. Now, here's the only little thing, and it's a very nitpicky thing, I will say, because I understand how hard it is to program these games, and to tweak too much out of the main portion of the game to add a character is not so easy. When you play any other Jason, it opens up with him coming out of Jason's shack and his mother talking to him through the Jason, go get them. Well, that happens with the Roy Jason too. And as you know, anyone who knows about Friday the 13th is he was not real. He was an imposter Jason. So why is he hearing his mother talk?
Yeah, that's a good point.
But so and the fact that he dies, he's as strong and powerful as the other Jasons. I mean, yeah, sure. In the movie, he took a lot of abuse before he finally was killed, just like the regular Jasons do. But So, I mean, that's not the worst part, but yeah, at least they ended it where usually the game ends, the round ends with Jason walking back to the Jason shack and his mom going, "Oh, good boy, Jason," or whatever different dialogues come through. This one, he kind of walks off in the distance. So at least they kind of tweaked that part. But yeah, so like I said, minor nitpick. It doesn't take away from the game. It's just me being a super Friday the 13th nerd. That said, though, so they did make an announcement today, and I actually saved the announcement to make sure I can touch base with touch on it a little bit better than what it is. It's about the dedicated servers that everyone was complaining about, because anyone that plays the game, the biggest frustration still is trying to get a match. I mean, I remember that's pretty much what turned you off for a while, Tim, right?
Yep.
Because you tried to get in and you'd go sit there for 25 minutes and not get a match, and you get kicked out of a room, and all because it doesn't have its dedicated servers. Well, they are announcing that. And I forgot. They did announce this in October that they're going to work on updating to the latest engine. So, and when they do that, they could then address the server. So they wrote, this guy, Shifty Samurai, who's from Gun Media, basically wrote an entire thing on it, on basically saying how they're going to try and do the engine, but basically what that involves is literally going through every little piece of the game. So it is time consuming. So they expect that to be the earliest, he said, around April. So with the good news about that is in April, which is only about 4 months away, 2 months away, I guess at this point. We're in February. So yeah, so March, April, yeah. So about 2 months away, we will have the new version of the Unreal Engine, which then, once they do that, they said they can implement the dedicated servers. Now, the only drawback to that is there will be no patches any other kind of patches until that point. So we're going to get like a 2-month period of like nothing. It's like what you got is what you got. Mm-hmm. They said, and I know there was that roadmap they released with a couple of game modes. They said they will still tease the game modes, and they will update the new roadmap of content once they have a better idea of the time frame. So, but again, it still kind of holds true what I said last week. This company does not quit on this game. I mean, this is still. I mean, we're going to be. I forgot when it actually did come out. Was it May when it finally came out? Like the end of May, right?
It might have been.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So we're coming up. We'll be at the year point when this game, and they're still doing tons of content and still trying to fix it, which is great because when you get that kind of longevity out of a game, you can never argue with that, and so this is great. So so that means they're still, once they do that, they're probably going to start releasing content pretty quickly. All the new content, like the Grendel map with Jason X, that Paranoia of single player mode. I think they still have some other, probably some counselors coming and stuff. So all that's going to be coming still again. It's just getting pushed back so they can get more of a better game engine itself, which I think is pretty good.
Cool. And then we also had some other Friday the 13th news. Right. The Retro Picture Show, who I always try and share their showings, which I still have not yet to make it to one. Shame on me. But now actually we're living in Amityville. I'm actually not. I'm pretty much a straight shot down one of the main roads all the way down. I just got to make a quick turn, and I'm down this road all the way down to where I can get to this theater where they have this. And they are showing Friday the 13th in 3D on April 13th. So that, I've always wanted to see that in the theater in 3D, and they somehow managed to get a print, and they will be showing it in 3D. So I will do everything I can to attend that show because, I mean, like I said, I've seen it in 3D on Blu-ray. Not the same, of course, by seeing a 3D movie in the theater. And it's like old school 3D, so it's like... Oh, yeah, the red and blue.
It'd be amazing if they somehow managed to get they redid the glasses that they used to give out. Remember, with the little Jason masks on them?
Oh, my gosh.
That would be kind of cool.
That'd be awesome.
So, yeah, so if I go to that, of course, I'll post a bunch of pictures from it and stuff. And so, because, I mean, that's just too good to pass up. So I have to figure out a way to get over to that, so...
Awesome. Well, we're 40 minutes in, and we just completed our first chop.
Yeah. Well, the good news is I don't think we'll have much to talk about our feature film.
No, we won't.
That'll probably be really quick.
Yeah, but we do have a big dismemberment, so let's get right into it.
Wait, no, please, God. No, don't cut off,
Okay, so Brian, sometimes we have these slow weeks where we have, 4 or 5 titles or whatever. And then for no reason whatsoever, sometimes you just get this absolute flood of movies. And that was what this week is like. I don't know if they're trying to get them, are they trying to push horror films for Valentine's Day or what? But they are just like,
I
dumping
wonder
these
what that is. Yeah.
I don't know, but this is these are the Blu-ray releases for February 13th. The day before Valentine's Day. So give your loved one the gift of horror.
Yeah, well, you know what? Think about it. You like to snuggle up to your significant other and watch a horror movie. I mean, how fun is that? And this is perfect.
Well,
you
maybe
have
that's
like a plethora of choices. And Tim and I went back to our good old pick of the weeks.
Oh,
and they're different this time. So you got 2 and I actually had I had 2 really pick of the weeks, but I'll explain why I went with the one I did. But
okay, well, the first one up is my pick of the week. And that is because this is one of my favorite movies of all time, period. And that is 1991's The Silence of the Lambs, which some people argue is not a horror movie.
Oh, please. It is.
Yeah, I mean, it's got enough. It's got more horror than some actual horror movies I know. So, but this was released in a Criterion version, I believe, on DVD. And they had a really nice edition of it that I actually never ended up getting.
Yeah, I have that one actually. I think.
Okay, yeah, I can see the cover in my mind. This is of course, the Blu-ray,
and it's not a goat man on the cover, by the way.
No, not a goat. Jodie Foster does not have goat legs.
No, she does not.
This is the Criterion Blu-ray release, and this will probably be the ultimate edition of this movie for fans, which is why I have to get it. Of course, everybody knows what Silence of the Lambs is. I don't have to go into the synopsis, but I will anyway. A young FBI cadet must receive the help of an incarcerated and manipulative cannibal killer to help catch another serial killer, a madman who skins his victims.
Now, it's funny because a lot of people think this was the first Hannibal Lecter film, and it is not.
No, it is not. Nope. That was, of course, Manhunter.
Yes. Now, if we did Silence of the Lambs, which I realized this is a good series for a future summer staycation, the Hannibal Lecter. Which we never really had on the list. So that will definitely be a
you could do Manhunter, you could do Red Dragon, which is essentially kind of a remake of Manhunter.
And then we could touch on the series a little, right? There was a series.
There's a series. You got Hannibal, of course.
Yeah.
Interesting.
So,
that's a good idea.
Yeah. So it's probably not going to be this year.
No,
but yeah.
No. It'll be down the road. That's a really good idea. But this one has a new 4K restoration, which almost all these discs have new 4K restorations these days. It must be really easy to do. They must stick it into a machine and it just does it. I don't know. Like,
double K. This is 2K. This is 4K.
Times everything by 2.
Yeah. And double it. No,
it has an audio commentary, 35 minutes of deleted scenes, which is really cool. And the interviews and featurettes. So it's a packed disc.
It's a lot more putting the lotion in the basket as well.
Yeah.
Oh my God. 35 minutes.
I still, to this day, do that scene, randomly.
You have to. How many times do you randomly say it when someone mentions lotion, right?
Yeah. Puts the lotion in the basket. I love that.
I actually did it last night because I have a terrible habit of overwashing my hands, and in winter that is like the worst thing you could possibly do. And so Julie had helped me pick out this really expensive lotion from Whole Foods, and so she asked for it yesterday, and I went and put the lotion in the basket. So it's like, you can't not say it.
Puts the lotion on his skin or else he gets the hose again.
Yeah, you have to say it. You can't say it. You can't.
He's ruined lotion for everybody.
He has. You damn Ted Levine. Okay.
Oh my gosh. The next one up is another Criterion release, which is really nice, which is what also in another week would definitely be my pick of the week. Which would be Night of the Living.
It was in a bad week for it to get picked of the week because there's 500 versions of this released.
Yeah, exactly.
So that's the problem.
This is the Criterion version of Night of the Living Dead from 1968. Of course, starring Dwayne Jones, Judith O'Dea, Carl Hardman, directed by George Romero. Judith O'Dea still looks fantastic, by the way.
She does. She doesn't look anything different. She looks just like a hint older. It's
weird.
She.
I saw her at Mad Monster Party last year, of course, and she looked phenomenal. There's panic throughout the nation as the dead suddenly come back to life. The film follows a group of characters who barricade themselves in an old farmhouse in an attempt to remain safe from these bloodthirsty, flesh-eating monsters.
You know, it's funny. I have to say, it's like a lot of, most of these descriptions we read are usually have some sort of comedy. This actually, like, totally undersells this film to me. Because especially if you've seen it, yes, okay, are they kind of describing the plot, what happens? Yes, but it was the performances in the movie and the style and the way they did it at the time that makes such a simple premise stand out. So it's like, it's kind of like, oh, that's what it's about. If someone who comes into this not knowing, like a young person is finally getting into horror, and they look at this and they read this, they're like, that's what everyone's talking about.
It's just another zombie movie.
Yeah, and they're just in a farmhouse. Well, The Walking Dead takes place everywhere. It's like, yeah, exactly. So it's like
they spent a season at a farmhouse, but then they moved on.
Exactly. Yeah, say so. Yeah.
So this one has a 4K restoration, soundtrack restoration, and 2 commentaries and new interviews, but the most interesting feature I think on here is a new work print edit of the film called Night of Anubis. It's actually a new edit. I thought that was really cool. I don't know if that has been released before or not. Maybe I'm a bad horror fan for not knowing that, but it sounded cool. So,
as long as it's not that, remember that version that I had in Night of the Living Dead where they reshot some scenes like currently and tried to fit it into the original film?
Oh my
and
god! Or the god awful colorized version.
Yeah, there's just the things they've done to that poor film. This is probably the best version to just get, because this seems like they're just literally just sprucing up the original print and fixing up the sound and leaving it at that.
All right, so next up is a film I've been meaning to revisit for quite some time, and that is...
And this is my pick of the week.
Yeah, this is Brian's pick of the week, 2009's Drag Me to Hell. And it's released by Shout Factory, directed by, of course, the great Sam Raimi, starring Alison Lohman, Justin Long, and Ruth Livier. I'm going to say Livier instead of liver.
Yeah, I don't know if it's liver.
Liver alone!
That's stealing from Matthew Lillard.
A little scream reference there. Good.
I had to go back there, yeah.
A lone officer who evicts an old woman from her home finds herself the recipient of a supernatural curse. Desperate, she turns to a seer to try and save her soul while evil forces work to push her to a breaking point.
Yeah, I love this movie in the theater. I remember I could not wait to see it. I think I saw this opening night. And it's just, what I loved about it is it was like, I mean, I know, like Army of Darkness was pretty big when it came, it was released and stuff, but this to me was such a great mainstream Sam Raimi film that had all the elements that you loved of Evil Dead, like that gross out over the top, stuff coming out and just like, and the performances were just so, like Alison Lohman was fantastic in it. And it kind of had that, reminded me a little bit like of, had that like, the Stephen King Thinner, a little bit of that in it.
I was about to say that.
And, it was just so fun. And to see that in a theater is one of those horror movies that you just have to see in the theater because the screams and the fun and the reaction and the laughter and just everything you want in like one of those, like it just was such a fun film to watch that like, and I've seen it a bunch of times since, and I own a good, the original Blu-ray version of it that came out, but I'll probably double dip and get this one because I want to see, I think the version I have is unrated anyway. It has most of the stuff in there, but I think, I want to say, I think there's supposed to be more special features. I thought there were more than this, but
there may be. Yeah, I know this one has some of the interviews on here are brand new.
Yeah, so and see, this to me would be worth a double dip because it's one of my favorites. So and that's why I had to make this a pick of my week. The funny thing is, the next one would have probably been my pick of the week just because of its non-existent on Blu-ray.
Right? Yeah, this one surprised me.
Yeah, because I had no idea this thing was coming, the next one. But I didn't want to cut you off if you had anything to add about Drag Me to Hell first.
No, the only thing I was going to say was, I believe when I missed this one in the theater. I believe when I watched it when it came out on DVD, I was like half paying attention to it because I really didn't remember much about it. No. And so it was one of those films that I really didn't get a good first impression from, even though everybody said it was awesome. So it's one I want to really go back and focus on and do it upright because I know it is.
Yeah, because you'll love it. I can't say, I wouldn't even understand how I couldn't live in a world and comprehend why you watching this would not enjoy it.
Yeah,
like it wouldn't make sense to me. Life would no longer make sense to me.
So the next one we were referring to that is non-existent, and believe me, we knew it was non-existent when we tried to do this for our Slaycation series.
Right, because I had to buy the old school DVD version, not the Blu-ray version.
This is, of course, Leatherface, Texas Chainsaw Massacre 3 from 1990. This is going to be released by Warner Archive.
That's why.
Yeah.
Okay, that's probably why, because Warner Archive really doesn't give much notice to their releases.
Yeah,
that's probably why we didn't know it was coming.
Yeah. This one's directed by Jeff Burr, starring Kate Hodge, Ken Foray, R.A. Mihailoff. Yeah. I don't know why I even put the names in here. I'm just going to murder them. But anyway, a California couple and a survivalist encounter Leatherface and his family. That's an understatement.
Yeah.
Strange movie.
I really like this one though, because I didn't remember it until we watched it for the summer Slaycation, and I was like, as I started watching it, I started remembering sequences from it. I'm like, oh yeah, and you know what I noticed? I've seen a lot more. Like I've been reading discussions about when Leatherface, the new Leatherface, came out, and they started to go back through the whole weird timelines of the other one and the remakes. And it's funny, this one keeps popping up as like there's almost like this new resurgence of and new fondness for this one. It's kind of funny. And I see why, because it was really a fun Texas Chainsaw film, where the others, while they were good horror films maybe, were not great Texas Chainsaw films, as we've discussed. And this one I still think captures the fun chainsaw film element. So
this one is one I need to revisit, because I think I watched it for the first time for our Slaycation series, so I'd only seen it the one time. Whereas most of the others I've seen multiple times. This is one of the few gaps, and it's really because it hasn't been available really, except for on DVD.
It's always been hard. Yeah.
So the next one up, I'm really looking forward to. I don't know why, because
look who's in this though.
Yeah. Most of these movies have been terrible, but that is the key reason, Brian, why I'm looking forward to it. This is HELLRAISER Judgment, which is the latest entry in the HELLRAISER franchise. And I was sitting there going, no, not another one. We already got 10 movies to go through on our Slaycation.
I know, and they're adding to it.
Yeah, they're adding to it. But this one is released by Lionsgate, directed by Gary J. Tunnicliffe, and starring Heather Langenkamp, Paul T. Taylor, and Randy Wayne. And poor Heather Langenkamp lost her son recently.
I know. I was gonna say we should mention that, because it's so sad I guess he was struggling with, he had brain cancer, right? I think he was.
I don't know the details around. I just had heard that she lost her son, which was terrible. But anyway, synopsis: Detectives Sean and David Carter are on the case to find a gruesome serial killer terrorizing the city. Joining forces with Detective Christine Egerton, they dig deeper into a spiraling maze of horror that may not be of this world. So, of course, I believe Pinhead's probably involved.
Yep, I'm sure he's somewhere.
This has some deleted and extended scenes and a gag reel. I really hope this one steps up the quality of the series. I mean, some of these movies are god-awful. Really, they are. Because you have so much non-Cenobite stuff. Which I still can't say Cenobites without thinking of Cinnabon.
I know,
They sound delicious. Oh my gosh.
Well, now we pretty much gave away our skit for when we do our Slaycation for Hellraiser.
I want to call it something else, but anyway.
Yeah.
Yeah, but
we'll have to do Pinehead or something.
Yeah. But anytime any of the Cenobites are on the screen, you're riveted. But as soon as they're off the screen, you have all these boring, dull, blah 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 blah. Yeah. But such is the nature of them that they can't be on the screen all the time, so it's kind of a weird dynamic there. The next one up is Night of the Seagulls from 1975. This is a Shout Factory release directed by Armando de Osorio, starring Victor Petit, Maria Costi, and Sandra Mazurovsky. And
is she related to Mike Wazowski from
I don't know.
Monsters, Inc.?
I'm actually looking forward to this one. I'll tell you why. This is a movie in a series called The Blind Dead. And I just said series and my phone lit up. What? What did you want? Siri was trying to look up the movie for me.
Stay quiet, Siri. We're
Damn
not
it, AI. It's every time I accidentally say something that sounds remotely like Alexa, she flips out. In this final installment of the Blind Dead series, a doctor and his wife move to a small, inhospitable coastal village. That's where you want to move, is someplace inhospitable.
Yeah, I love that. Like, and it's funny. No people, they can never tell they're inhospitable until it's way too late. Why is that? Wouldn't you notice when people are giving you the stare down as you're touring the place that maybe that's not the place you want to be?
Anyway, this coastal village where he plans to start a practice, only to discover that undead, demon-worshipping Templar knights haunt the place. I hate when that happens. Damn it.
Yeah.
Ah!
Never notice it. It's like...
you just try to give people good health care, and his undead Templar knights ruin everything for everybody.
Now, see, I like that they're they're sure undead demons, because the dead demons are not as fierce, apparently, We had to make sure we clarified it was undead demons.
Yeah. Now, this next one, tell me, I swear we covered this one on a past discmemberment, but I couldn't find it.
I thought so too. The title sound, but then again, blood splattered in a title and bride. That's like three. That's like if you play that. What's that game where you take the words and you like make a horror movie out of these words. It's like those three would be in there. Blood spattered and bride would be in there somewhere to pick from. But here's the thing, the key. I don't remember Mondo Macabro, because that seems like something we would have
made fun of,
just gone off on. But
So anyways, if you've heard this one before, stop me. But
and it's my birth year it comes out, so I don't think we would have mentioned that too. So.
This one's called The Blood Spattered Bride. It's from 1972. It's being released by Mondo Macabro. I was trying to roll my R. Mondo Macabro, and directed by Vicente Aranda, starring Simon Andrew, Maribel Martin, and Alexandra Bastedo.
I would have been funny if you would have typed it wrong, Bastardo,
Yeah.
Then you would have been like Fabrizio in Titanic. Remember? Bastardo! Okay, so.
Newlywed Susan is haunted by visions of Mircalla Karnstein, a centuries-old bride who murdered her husband on their wedding night. I swear this sounds familiar. I think I remember Mircalla Karnstein, but anyway. But the summary doesn't seem the same. I don't know.
I don't know.
This has a 4K restoration, audio commentary, interviews, alternate scenes, and an alternate ending. So, yeah.
That sounds like something. It might have been on Shudder. Maybe that's where we saw it.
Possibly. I swear we mentioned it somewhere. And maybe it may have been a different release of the same movie. Possibly.
That's true. They do. Yeah, it's not. It wouldn't have been the first time.
Yeah, not every company has exclusive rights. So sometimes you get these multiple versions.
Oh my god, I can't believe how much left of this discmemberment.
That's crazy. I tell you, we're kind of flying through these.
Yeah.
This next one looks It's an interesting double feature because the movies are so far apart in timeline.
Oh my god, you're right. What the heck?
This is a double feature of a movie called Chaos from 2005 and one called Don't Look in the Basement, which I've heard of.
Yeah,
from
that's the older one.
Yeah,
right?
that's from 1973.
Yeah.
Chaos was directed by David DeFalco, starring Kevin Gage, Sage Stallone, Kelly Casey Kwan, and Don't Look in the Basement was directed by S.F. Brownrigg, Bill McGee, Jesse Lee Fulton, Robert Dracup, starring in that one. And
yeah, Sage Stallone was tragically died a few years ago, didn't he?
Oh yeah,
I remember because Rocky. Actually, it's funny because lately Cable's been putting on these Rocky marathons, and Rocky 5 was just on. Actually, before we started recording here, I was watching it.
Yeah, I did. You're right. Yeah, absolutely right. So the summary for Chaos is Emily and her friend Angelica go to a rave in the woods, and when they arrive, they meet a stranger called Swan that promises some ecstasy for the girls. They follow him to a cabin into the forest where they meet the sadistic gang led by the psychotic Chaos. The girls are abused, tortured, and raped in a night of nightmare and murder.
Swan, is that the Swan from like the Warriors? Like the leader, remember? His name was Swan.
Oh, yeah.
Can you dig it? Sorry, that's one of my favorite movies. I like to quote it.
Don't Look in the Basement is about a young psychiatric nurse who goes to work at a lonesome asylum following a murder. There, she experiences varying degrees of torment from the patients.
What's a lonesome asylum?
I don't know. I hope she was getting overtime, though.
Yeah, I know.
It's just a weird double feature. They don't even really have anything to do with each other, it doesn't seem like.
Yeah, and I feel bad she's speaking varying degrees of torment. So it's not just like she can't just like get used to one of them, because they're varying degrees of it.
They're always changing.
Right when she thinks she's done, it's like, oh, that's too much. Okay, that's too, yeah.
The next one up is a Dario Argento classic, The Bird with the Crystal Plumage. This is an Arrow release from 1970, starring Tony Musanti, Susie Kendall, and Enrico Maria Salerno. A witness of an attack, a writer becomes stalked by a serial killer.
Once again, you chose the long description, apparently.
Yeah, apparently so. It's only a classic of Italian cinema, so why devote more than a short sentence to it? Jeez.
Right. But yet, don't look at the other one, the Chaos double feature gets like 5 paragraphs.
Yeah. Oh my God, this next one. I was debating whether to drop the F-bomb on the show, but I'll be good. This one's Don't F in the Woods.
Or if you read it the way Tim wrote it, don't fastrix in the woods.
Fastrix, yeah. We'll spare you the F-bomb in this one. I've already given you an S word, so. Yeah. The release company is Gravitas Ventures. This one was directed by Sean Burkett, year 2016, starring Brittany Blanton, Ace Howard, and Roman Jossart.
This totally would remind me of like, I mean, I know they didn't use that kind of language as much back in the day, but it totally seems like something that would be like one of those late 60s, early 70s horror films.
You're right. It does kind of.
You know, like don't but you know, back then would be like don't fornicate in the forest, you know, but yeah, here it's don't F in the woods.
A group of friends are going on a camping trip to celebrate graduating college, but once they enter the woods, the group are attacked by a creature.
Interesting.
Yep. So, there you go. That one was definitely created around the title. I'm guessing.
I could tell. Like, I wonder if they, like, which came first. You know, it's like, did they come up with the title and say, we got to have something in the woods, apparently. I'm sure this 3 B's aplenty in this movie.
Oh,
I can't imagine them not, because that's a horrible missed opportunity.
All right, so this one got a great summary. Oh, I love this summary.
Yeah, this one goes long.
All right, so this one's called Harvest of the Dead. It's an SRS Cinema exclusive, whatever that is.
Because no one wanted it. That's code for no one else wanted this, so we're going to make it an exclusive.
It's directed by Peter Goddard, Sam Mason Bell, which, interestingly, think about it, his last name is 2 prefixes for jar.
Oh, you're right.
Mason jar and bell jar.
And bell jar.
This is the kind of stuff I think about, people.
Yeah, no, this is interesting. And that's going to be as interesting as this film gets, I think.
Probably.
We'll see.
This was from 2015, starring Fiona Fox, Holly Ransom, and Hannah Coley.
All right, that's got to be 3 porn stars.
That's got to be. I was about to say that's
no
gotta be.
way on earth these 3 did not come from porn. I'm sorry. I apologize to you 3 lovely ladies, but you guys picked horrible names.
Oh my God. Okay.
But
synopsis. This is great. I love this.
And look, based on the first sentence in your subject, who's the poor porn actress that got left out in the starring role?
That doesn't get listed on IMDb.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Okay, so 4 teenagers, Amy, Melissa, Haley, and Tess, venture out into the British countryside for a weekend camping. After a while, it becomes clear that they are not alone as an unknown figure watches them. The first night, they sit around the campfire and tell each other scary stories. One involves a strange video they saw on the internet. Another involves possessed pumpkins. And the final tells the tale of the plague doctor. Slowly, over the next day, each girl is killed one by one until only Amy survives. Drugged, she awakes in a strange room, and suddenly the real terror can begin. So they just give you the entire plot synopsis. Why did they
give you the rest of the movie? Now I'm like, do I need to see it, or should I just scale to the last 5 minutes when the terror begins?
Well, I'm kind of wondering if what they said in the synopsis is like the first 10 minutes, and then the rest of the movie is her in this room with the plague doctor. I don't know.
That's true. They could, yeah. We're thinking, like, because the way they described that almost sounds like it's going to be like just like the carry-arounds or the wraparounds for an anthology. But maybe it's maybe you're right. Maybe it's one of those things where they tell us, like, that's literally the first 15 minutes, and they go in. But, you know, it's like, wonder if, like, they had other plans, but then they heard that you can't F in the woods, so they have nothing to do, so they decide to tell each other scary stories.
Or this could be the way the summary writer is warning you, don't watch this movie. I'm just going to give you the whole plot, so you don't have to watch it.
Yeah, that's... And the funny thing is, for an exclusive, they give really, like, way too much away, but we'll see.
The next one is Francesca, released by Unearthed Films, directed by Luciano Onetti. Year 2015. I swear I'm not making fun of Italian people when I do this. I just love saying the names with like a little bit of an Italian.
No, you say it with a good flair.
Yeah.
You capture the feel.
Starring Luis Emilio Rodriguez, Gustavo D'Alessandro, and Raul Gardellini. Two detectives must catch a serial killer, but their only chance to find him is to solve the case of a missing girl who disappeared 15 years ago.
That's like the plot of 95 other films, but
yeah,
I guess maybe this one just, I don't know.
Hey, look, guys, a movie about a serial killer.
I know. How many times, though, it's like, we need to find that case first, because that will hold all the answers, you know?
Yeah. Go back to blame Silence of the Lambs for that one.
Yeah, true, right?
The next one is an AKA. Great, an AKA.
Oh, I like those.
This one is Atroz, AKA Atrocious. It's another Unearthed Films release.
I hope that's just the title and not the description. Yeah. You know, that's the review of the film.
This one's directed by Lex Ortega, year 2015, starring...
I don't know why that's funny to me.
I think isn't that Ortega is like a brand of taco shells?
Yeah,
I think that's why it's
Ortega,
funny. I mean, remember we said any last name that reminds you of food is funny.
Yeah, that but the fact is like Lex Ortega. It totally sounds like some weird like
Mexican porn star.
What are those? No, well that too, but also like a oh my god, I can't even think of the word. Like an outlaw, you know?
Yeah.
Like, oh my god, it's Lex Ortega and the Chip Gang, you know, or something like that, you know? Yeah, like, you know, he rides on a trusty steed. And
this one stars David Abusafi, Laurette Flores, and Aleida Gallardo. So a woman has been brutally struck down by a car. Is there any other way to get struck down by a car?
And what do you get, like tapped and you fall? Yeah, okay.
A woman has been brutally struck down by a car, and the two drivers have been obtained by the police.
The two drivers? No wonder why they crashed. No wonder why she got run over. They're like,
they were both
each holding the wheel. Yeah. Unless it was one of those like training cars, you know, with the two wheels in it. You know, where the instructor sits in one and the student in the other. And
this is what I mean. I should have been a proofreader. Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
The unorthodox commander-in-chief decides to check out the assailant's car for himself and makes a gruesome discovery on a camcorder. The video recorder features the relentless torture and murder of a prostitute.
Wait, is this while driving? Again, no wonder why they crashed.
Sounds like Grand Theft Auto, the movie.
It is. Which, how has there not been a movie of that yet?
Oh, you're well.
Think about it.
Gone in 60 Seconds, I guess, is probably.
Oh, okay, maybe. Yeah, that's true. But you know what? When it does, it's going to star Dwayne Johnson.
Oh, yeah, definitely. My kids are cracked out on Dwayne Johnson right now.
My God, what is he not in? Like now
he's in everything.
He's basically like Skyscraper, that movie that it looks like it's basically Die Hard with Dwayne The Rock, which I think they missed the opportunity to call it like Rock Harder, you know. But
Hard,
you know.
Well, The Rock says he's going to jump off the building.
Yeah, they could have gotten away with just calling it like Die Hard 6 or whatever what they're up to now.
Yeah, no, Die Hard 6, Rock Harder.
Yeah. That's there you go. Yeah, we've watched the Tooth Fairy and not the horror movie. I'm talking about the actual Dwayne Johnson Tooth Fairy movie like 3 times in the past week. They love him because they saw him in Jumanji too, so they're just like all about Dwayne.
Well,
Johnson.
I gotta tell you, he as far as acting goes, he does exactly every role he's in. He plays the role perfectly for what they need him for. I'm telling you, I mean, not that he ever is in like a challenging role or anything, but you know what he does. There are people that can't even take that role and make it believable. Those kind of things. So he does a good job. He's got the good comedic chops. He's got the.
Well, I think it's cool that he does family films and does action films. So he crosses those genres effortlessly. Like
right, and he will he doesn't have an issue with like making a fool of himself or wearing a tutu.
Yeah.
It's like whatever.
So, I mean, hats off to him.
Yeah.
Oh gosh, where are we? We're still in the middle of this summary.
Oh, yeah.
So they found this videotape with torture and murder of a prostitute. The police decide to deal out some justice of their own, justice that would make even the criminals cringe.
Why wouldn't they deal out justice? They're the police.
By interrogating their perpetrators, they discover more videotapes exposing even more sexually deviant torture and murder.
Yeah, they must have really dug deep for that one. It's it's like, here's one box of tapes. A second box.
Now you guys are really gonna get it.
Oh, God. And there was like, whoever created this film knew, like, this is just the first one. The second sequel is going to have them go international and find videos. You know?
It was too more atrocious.
Yeah. God. You know what the funny thing is? We're probably, as much as we joke, we're probably so close to the mark on all these things.
Yeah, like somewhere the director's listening to this podcast, he's like, damn it, they stole my idea.
Blimey, they knew it! You know, but...
I love to hear Lex Ortega going, blimey!
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure I got his accent perfect.
All right, disc title.
Oh, speaking of that, we did get our answer that obviously what the Crocodile Dundee was completely fake, and it was just a commercial.
That's
for
such
Australia.
a disappointment because it looks like an awesome Crocodile Dundee movie.
It does, but it was actually a brilliant commercial.
It was,
good ad.
Yeah.
So.
I really wanted to see it though. I was like, I want to see that movie. Anyway,
I'm sure you're not the only one. They'd probably do something else with it.
Yeah,
like a web series.
Because Chris Hemsworth has some really good comedic chops.
He does.
He was the best part of that Ghostbusters reboot.
I was gonna say he basically made the Ghostbusters thing, like when he called it. What is it called? His dog, Cat, or something? Or,
I can't remember, but he's really funny.
Or Mike Hat. That's right.
Yeah, Mike.
His cat. His cat was Mike Hat. That's right. That's what it was.
Oh man. So the next one up, this one is a limited Kickstarter, 1,000 copies, limited edition. Wow. This is a Hammer Horror, the Warner Brothers Years documentary being released by Diabolique. That's all I know about it. I couldn't find much about it, but it's apparently a documentary and limited to 1,000 copies. So you're not going to get one, so don't worry about it.
And so wait, let me read the synopsis for this one. Okay, and that was great. So
there we go. We got one last one left. My favorite. It's a zombie movie. So this one's called Almost Dead. Okay, so maybe it's almost a zombie movie.
Yeah, almost a zombie.
Released by Uncorked Entertainment, directed by...
Wait a minute. You got to say it right. Uncorked Entertainment.
Yeah, there's no E. It's an apostrophe.
Yeah.
Directed by Giorgio Bruno. Year 2016. Starring Alan Prandy, Sean James Sutton, and Valentina. There's our Valentine connection.
Yeah.
Valentina Ferranti.
But that's probably Valentina Ferranti.
Ferranti.
You gotta roll those R's, I think, for her name.
So this one's about hope. Oh my God, just kill me now. Yeah. Very subtly named Hope, a researcher who studies infectious diseases. The struggle for survival in a world where a deadly virus but decimated the population. Okay, the funny thing is with that, as badly worded as they wrote that, it's totally like the voiceover where it's like, the struggle for survivor in a world where a deadly virus but decimated the population. Yeah. You know, it's like that was... They probably wrote that to, like, the poor, like, Giorgio Bruno was probably, like sitting there in his head, rolling that guy's voice through his head, all excited that when his movie premieres at Sundance. Yeah. Oh. Except it was Sundance Cinema in, like, Spokane, Washington. And not, like, Sundance Film Festival. But, oh, man. I'm going to hell. These people are going to hate us. I know, really. We'll never get this guy's films on our show. No. So that brings us... there's no theatrical releases, by the way. And we don't have any for a while. Yeah. And I did not get out to see Winchester. It got kind of beat up by the reviews. So. I'm going to see it this week, though. Julie and I are going to see it this week. Cause, basically, because it's I always loved the story of it, and since I toured the house, and it was right around by Julie's, where she actually lived, it was like, I figured it'd be a fun date movie this week, so we'll probably go try and do like an early Valentine's Day featurette. There you go. So, well, speaking of Valentines, our main feature is Valentine, and I swear to you, Brian, I would have bet money that this movie was released in the 90s. Oh yeah, because it has every like that PG-13 horror trend that started at the end of that. And I think even said in the last episode that this was a 90s horror movie, and I ended up having to cut it out because when I went and looked at this on IMDb and realized it was a 2001 release, I was gobsmacked, for lack of a better word. It was there's no one anyone who sees this will know have to forgive you for that mistake. Yeah, because it is so cookie cutter, straight out of the 90s. This actually is post Scream 3, to give you an idea of how recent it was, which is kind of crazy. But it's another reason I thought it was a 90s film is because it was directed by Jamie Blanks, who did Urban Legend, which I think was late 90s. And starring, of course, 90s icon Denise Richards, who was
Right.
in everything back then. How do you say David Boreanaz's name?
Boreanaz.
Marley Shelton and Katherine Heigl, of all people, who has disowned this film, by the way.
Yes, but as I texted Tim as I started to watch it yesterday, I was like, "What a perfect Valentine's movie!" Because Katherine Heigl's in it. As you know, she the at one point was like the queen of the romantic comedy.
Yeah, exactly.
So, which is always makes sense because someone with her looks, would always struggle to meet a man.
Right?
I mean,
Yeah.
come on.
Yeah. Synopsis: 5 women are stalked by an unknown assailant while preparing for Valentine's Day. So basically, in this movie, you start off with this poor little nerd loser at the dance. It looked like maybe like a middle school dance or something. Was it even high school?
Yeah, I'm not. I don't know what that was. Yeah, because they made it seem like it was high school because of the year gap. They said, but no, I think they said 11 years. So it's probably maybe junior high.
Yeah, maybe junior high or middle school.
Yeah.
But so he's this poor little nerd is asking girls out to the dance, and they're all turning him down one by one. And he finally gets lucky with one of the little girls who's also kind of an outcast. She was one of the bigger little girls, if you know what I mean. And
Yeah.
he starts making out with her. Some boys catch him in the act, and the girl, mortified that she's been caught, she kind of pretends that he assaulted her and that she wants nothing to do with him and basically embarrasses him in front of the entire school. He even gets a bowl full of punch dumped on his head in a very Carrie reminiscent scene because it was, of course, red punch.
Yeah.
That was not lost on me. So then cut to years later, you have these, I guess they're graduated by this point, right?
Yeah, see, I thought that, Katherine Heigl's not, no. I think they did graduate because she's in med school, so she would still be in
She'd
school.
still be in school, but I think the rest of them
Right.
had graduated. It's hard to say because they all look so young.
Yeah.
Comparatively, because it's been, 17
But I mean,
years?
one of them, but I mean, they pretty much, because, what's her face is working at the paper, I guess, right? Marley Shelton, she works at the paper.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, so they've graduated and kind of moved on. So,
I think they're all in there like their first career kind of a thing.
yeah. So now you've got this set up a la Terror Train of the shunned nerd who out to get revenge on the girls who shunned him type thing. And the killer in this one, I will have to say, out of all the 90s slasher movies that came out, and this one, which is kind of the tail end, it kind of jumped into the 2000s, which actually that stretch kind of lasted a little while into the early 2000s. I did not realize that because I'm terrible with time. I'm terrible with decades.
Yeah.
You even said, talk about The Shape of Water was so 50s. It's really 60s.
True.
So
it's okay.
But I don't know. I wasn't even born then. I'm terrible with time. Sorry. Yeah. So, but out of all those, and you'll know this kind of film, it's the Scream, I Know What You Did Last Summer, the Urban Legends.
It's the same formula.
It was that whole thing that happened. I think this was one of the best killers in terms of The Mask.
Oh, The Mask was definitely, they definitely kept, and the funny thing is there was no explanation why the mask was shown in the beginning, but there was no explanation on why it was there, right? I don't remember them ever giving a reason why they even had that mask to begin with.
Not really. It was just basically creepy.
Not that there needs to be one per se, but it's just an odd choice of a mask. Yeah,
it's basically a
Cupid,
Valentine
right?
Cupid, yeah. So it looks really creepy. I love those masks, sort of like the ones that they wear in The Strangers, where it looks like people. It's
right,
kind of like a simplified. Those are always the creepiest. So basically, now what plays out is an extended formulaic. I think I mentioned this one might have been a gem. I do remember liking it when it came out. I remember seeing it in the theater. I was probably with Olivia at the time. That was the year before we got married. But
wow, you took her to this and she's still married to you?
Yeah,
wow.
Somehow. But
that is romantic.
Watching it now, I was definitely off target. This is not a gem. Although I will say there are parts of it that I do appreciate. No, there were. I feel like I definitely like. I remember seeing it the first time, but I had a little different. Like I was like disappointed the first time I saw it. And when I was watching it again for this, I was not looking forward to it because I was like, I did not have good memories of it. And watching it again, I kind of remember why, because it is just another, like, it's so formulaic from the other ones,
But I will, like you said, there were some moments, and I thought there were actually there was a couple of good kills in this that I thought were really good. Like I loved the arrow kill. That was a pretty brutal kill where he just kept shooting her with the arrows till she fell over the thing, and it was kind of like just a cool, unique way. Like why? Like why did he get the bow? I mean, I know Cupid, bow and arrow kind of thing, but still, it was just kind of like it was not like he was like fluttering around like Cupid the whole movie.
Where did he learn? Where did he learn archery?
Yeah, like why is he so good at archery all of a sudden? But yeah, I mean, so it had some decent kills and it had some, had a couple of moments. I mean, they definitely missed out on the it's probably the only movie Denise Richards wasn't naked in. So, but
which is a horror movie and she's not naked in it.
I don't understand. Yeah, it's pretty like a big missed opportunity there. But and it was just like I don't think their little. I mean, if you haven't seen it by now, sorry if this is a spoiler, but they really didn't like. I thought that the twist was. And follow-up twist was weak. It's just like it didn't. It seemed like they went out of their way to make it obvious, then try and trick you at the end just to tell you no, you were right all along, kind of thing. And it just, to me, I was like, that's a cheat. I don't know. To me, it's just a cheat. And it made no sense why. Like they went out of the. And at one moment they were like trying to tell you like, well, it can't be this person, even though you're flat out saying no, it has to be, for God's sake. And you were right all along, but yet it's like I'm like,
it's like you're putting in twists just to put in twist, because that's the formula, and we have to put one in. Now this one is based off a actual novel, believe it or not.
Right, it was right, yeah.
So I don't know if that twist was from the novel or if that was just something producers cooked up. But let's talk about the good parts of the movie then,
right?
Because I think there's two things that I liked about the movie. Number one, you do have some known stars.
Right. So, actually, a really good cast.
Yeah, so you got stars. I mean, I wouldn't call Denise Richards the greatest actress in the world, but she was in enough stuff at the time that she can hold her own, right?
I loved her in Starship Troopers. So,
yeah.
I mean, from that moment, she was big. So,
yeah. So in this type of movie, she can definitely hold her own. God, say his name again. David Boreanaz.
Yeah, Boreanaz. I mean, he was huge at the time for Angel.
I know. I've watched all of Buffy and Angel. I can't say his name. And Bones.
Did you catch where they did the little reference to that in there?
Yeah, he said he's no angel.
He said no angel. Yeah, that was pretty funny.
So he was fantastic in it, obviously.
Yeah,
he's actually a really good actor. And then you've got Katherine Heigl, who's a great actress, although she's not in it very much.
Yeah. For her credit, she got out.
So the cast is decent for this type of movie. So that's a good thing. And the other thing I really like is I don't know if you noticed, Brian, there's a lot of references to Halloween in this film.
Oh, yeah.
Because the killer has a lot of Michael Myers sequences. There's some of the ones
he did the sit-up part.
The sit-up part.
Sit-up. Yeah.
That one, there was a sequence where the girl's trapped in like this little cupboard thing, and it's got the blinds, almost like Laurie was trapped in Halloween in the closet.
Right. Yeah.
There's a scene where he's kind of looking over a railing that was very reminiscent of Halloween. Where Michael
they had a hot tub one, which was kind of Halloween.
Yeah, 2. Halloween 2. They had a hot tub kill, which was lifted from Halloween 2, kinda. It was not quite the same, but so I did kind of appreciate looking at those little references and saying, oh, well, okay, this guy's obviously seen Halloween. He's obviously lifting some of this stuff.
Yeah, and it was the mannerisms of the killer too, how he just kind of walked.
Mm-hmm.
And kind of like stalked through, and how he would just kind of do these full body turn things and just let almost like the mask lead the way, kind of. I guess for lack of a better description. But there were that's the thing. It was like, it's funny. It had pieces that should have made this a better movie. Now, if I'm wondering if this would have came out before all the screams, we would have thought, wow, this is amazing.
Possibly,
but
yeah.
I'm wondering if it suffered from the time it came out, because it was really a genre, but that formula didn't, it wasn't a good enough formula that it could be repeated to death, no pun intended, repeated enough. There's some formulas that with slight tweaks, you could just overuse it over and over again, and it still kind of seems fresh enough. This is one that you can only do so much to it. And I'll give him this. They tried to get as much out of it as they could. like I said, I don't know if it's maybe the cast was too known, or maybe it's one of its positives could have actually somehow led to its negatives. I don't know.
Well, I think it was because I was trying to figure out what I did not like about this movie, and I kind of finally figured it out, was that there was not enough killing and too much talking. There was too much non-killing stuff for me. There was too much stuff that was not focused on the actual killer. And so you had a lot of these like long sequences where I felt like nothing was really happening. You had, it was just these personalities up there, blah, 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 talking. And I really kind of wished we had more of the killer sequences, stalking sequences, because the body count's not super high in this. I think there's like nine.
I think, yeah. And there was one where they don't even show it, where they just show him dragging like one of the waitresses there or something from the party. And it was like the one thing, like when they, they even made a line about it, but it didn't even cover it enough. Where like towards the end, right before the final girl sequence, where the host, the girl, that Dorothy, I guess, the one that owned the house with the party, she goes, "Boy, they cleared out fast," and literally the house is empty. Not a hint of a person was ever there. Every car is gone. There was like at least 125 people there 2 minutes ago, and then all of a sudden, literally, the house is empty.
Yeah, that was just wince-inducing there.
Yeah. And I think part of I don't know if I should go into this, because it kind of gives completely it away for those who didn't see it. Are we at that level where this is old enough that we can kind of...
It's a 17-year-old mediocre slasher film. Yeah. I don't see any problem with it.
Okay. So, there's obviously... You find that, when the killer is revealed, that, all the motive is there, there. But they come up with the reason why it could be him. Oh, he could have gotten, with a little bit of plastic surgery and some working out, but they really don't go into... Now, I know this kind of contradicts what we say before, where, we're like, well, do you really need to know the backstory of the killer? And because, it's scary when you don't, but they've already set that part up. That, they're trying to tell you it's the kid that, was wronged.
Right.
Right? So you have that information, but then they kind of leave out the piece of how he kind of got there. And and that's one of those things that most of those movies usually cover in some way. And they didn't attempt to cover it. They just, okay, his name is different now and he's another guy.
Yeah.
So to me, that kind of bothered me, because that was where I think they cheated you, because they kind of like made it like, well, it can't be him, even though there's no way in hell it's not him. It's like, you're like, come on.
If you look at the way Terror Train did it, they said, okay, who the killers should be.
Right.
And then they played up the suspense by, you don't know which one he is. You know who he is, you just don't know where he is. Whereas in this one, they set it up who it's going to be, and then they try to trick you into thinking it's not who you think it's going to be. Right,
and in a poor manner too.
Yeah,
and that's what I think annoyed me, and like, because when I was watching it in the beginning, I was just like, the first half, I was like, it's not as bad as I remember. But then when that part came at the end, I'm like, towards the end, I'm like, I remember what happens in this, and now I remember why I didn't like it, because I don't like when movies, I love a good suspense where you don't know who the killer is, and there's good deliberate twists and turns, but they have to be done in a way that aren't cheats. And this to me was flat out cheats. There was no reason for the way they twisted it, and they didn't give you a reason why they did it, and it was just, I don't know. It just irked me. And it's, and it's like, you figure just like, you invested enough into this movie at that point that you should have gotten a little bit more out of it. I don't know.
It might have, that cheat twist might have been forgivable in a better movie if the rest of the movie had been better, but then you slap it on this by the numbers, paint the numbers, formula script, and it's like it's just another kick in the nuts at the end.
Yeah, you're just like, oh, really? Come on, this is what we were saying, and you tried to talk us out of it. Yeah. And then even to the very end, you do that other little twist, which it's funny if you're paying attention, like since I remembered it as it was coming towards the end again, you totally notice that obviously when she comes out wearing, with the mask on, and it looks like she's really getting, like, she's running out of there. She's not going to attack. That's why they both stumble down the stairs, because it's like, okay, she wasn't trying to attack her. She was just trying to run and escape. And with the mask, it was just stupid. It was just like they try. And here's the thing. The final girl sequence was, it kind of like, it wasn't set up right either, I don't think. Like, I think the jarring of the people disappearing so fast and everything, and then all of a sudden you're like in the midst of this final girl sequence without a proper setup, if that makes sense.
It was just contrived. Everything was so contrived and you could see right through it. But, again, this director is basically best known for Urban Legend, which is another basically cookie cutter. The only thing that saves...
But I like those. I loved Urban Legend.
Well, the reason I think I loved Urban Legend a lot more than this one is because... the theme of I love urban legends. I've consumed urban legend books in the library, so I love the theme, and that kind of helped.
That's true. And at that time, if you remember, urban legends were becoming a big thing because remember, internet was really getting big, where these things would spread faster, and
it was good timing. Yep.
Like here's the thing, that was a perfect time film right in the middle of it where they could, and this one was a couple of years too late. Yeah. So
it was way late. Like I said, I cannot.
That's true. Yeah, I should say I'm being nice by saying a couple of years.
I cannot believe this movie was released in 2001 because it feels like such a relic. I don't know how the perfect example for me thinking it was come out of the 90s because it basically is a carbon copy. So, just astounds me.
Yeah, plus, obviously you did get Denise Richards in a lot of scantily clad clothing. So, they at least they tried to get they knew who their target audience was.
Yeah, this one.
If you want to say one good thing going forward. They did get that.
This was essentially a cash grab. A last gasp at the Scream franchise cash grab.
I will say a funny little, turny fact kind of thing. So, the guy that plays... The one Katherine Heigl's on the blind date with in the beginning, right? He also, he played that chauvinistic, cocky guy, right? He was also the guy that was in the movie with her that she did The Ugly Truth with Gerard Butler. Remember where she had to find a replacement, and he was like Jack Magnum, and he came in as almost the same type of character.
Oh, really?
In that movie with Katherine Heigl, so it's kind of funny.
All right, well, I think we've spent more than enough time that this movie deserves. So you had a fantastic beer pairing this week because I've actually had this one.
Yeah, it's 2 in a row we got from your home state.
Yep.
And I think I've had it too. Did you?
I got
you
one.
Bring it?
I brought you one.
You did. That's where I've had it. Okay, yep. I knew it. I was like, I know I had one, and I couldn't remember where it was. And yes, this is it. So Tim bought me a beer called Sexual Chocolate, and it actually is one of I personally like. I didn't even talk about this because this was going to be a long show with all the dismemberment stuff. But I was at that Extreme Beer Festival, which I didn't get to post really much about it because kind of really went right into the drinking of it, But I do, as much as I love a good IPA, but I do love a good chocolate beer in there, and this is by far one of the greatest ones that I've had. It's by Foothills Brewing from Winston-Salem, North Carolina, Tim's home state once again. It's basically cocoa-infused chocolate stout. So, and obviously being Sexual Chocolate, this movie is basically is more of an homage to Denise Richards, basically, because she played a very sexual character in this.
Yeah, that one they had a limited edition of this that a buddy of mine that's a beer aficionado told me about that was, they had on tap at our grocery store up the street.
Oh, on tap.
On tap, yeah, and they were selling growlers of it. And I went up there and he said, dude, just go there, get in line, get this. I don't care how much it costs. Just go and get one for me and one for you. And so I did. I faithfully went up there. I got there before time. Thought, I'll just walk around a little bit. By the time I circled the store and came back around, the line was almost out the door.
Wow.
Got in line.
People love their sexual chocolate.
I literally got the last growler of it.
Oh.
So, yeah, this is a very popular brewery. It's makes some fantastic stuff, and their limited edition sexual chocolate is even better than their regular sexual chocolate, if you can believe that.
Wow.
But yeah, so Yeah, great choice. This one's one of my favorites for sure as far as the stouts go.
And it's an actual beer that we both have had.
Yeah,
and
there you
could
go.
recommend.
That might be a Civil Gore first.
It might be, I think. Although no, we did. I think was it? Did we do one of the Christmas beers? We might have. Both.
Might have, yeah.
Maybe I'm not sure.
Or a pumpkin, maybe. I don't know if we did.
Pumpkin. Yeah, we might have done pumpkin.
Yeah. So the trivia question for last week was: other than Groundhog's Day, or Groundhog Day, let's say Groundhog.
Yeah.
Other than
Did I
Groundhog.
write Groundhog?
Yeah. Other than Groundhog Day, what other Bill Murray film gets a reference in Happy Death Day?
Oh my god, I really cut that short. Sorry, when I copy and pasted this, I must have got cut off.
Yeah. But
okay.
The answer is Ghostbusters, because Tree's roommate Lori has the last name of Spengler, which of course, as a Ghostbuster fan, know is Egon's last name.
Yes. I thought that was a good trivia, because that was I
like that one, yeah.
Kind of a unique one, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yep. So this is the current week question. We struggled with the trivia for this one. This one. Don't look on IMDb for this one.
Yeah, the only other trivia question I could think of for this one is, why on earth did you watch this movie? No, I'm kidding.
Yeah. Why did we pick this for our grand holiday? Well, we'll get into that in a minute.
We're making up for you. Next week
it,
we're making up for it big time, I think.
So the trivia question for this week: what interesting distinction does the movie Valentine have in relation to the Super Bowl?
Which is very timely. The Super Bowl, the day we're recording this, is the day after the Super Bowl.
There you go. Yep. So.
And this is actually, I got to tell you, a very interesting fact, I think. The answer to this, I found that very interesting, because I would have never thought that when you find out the answer would actually be a fact. But,
yeah,
oh well.
That's crazy. Next week, we're going to continue the Valentine's Day theme, even though the episode's going to land after Valentine's Day, technically, but that's okay.
Right, but we here at Civil Gore like to...
We're romantic.
Extend things, if you haven't noticed. Yeah. And we're romantic, yeah.
We're going to do a My Bloody Valentine double feature. We're going to do the original film and the remake that was, of course, heavily hyped in 3D, I remember when it came out. Brian, believe it or not, I've never seen either of these films.
Really?
Really. I've never seen either of these films.
Wow. The original, actually, was one of my favorites growing up, because... Again, it kind of was, I remember seeing it was on, when I had cable in my room, and the movie channel kept airing it. And I remember I kept seeing the commercial for it. So, as, like, one of those things that, like, it sucked me in, like when, I used to watch, I think it was, what was the other, like Curtains did, kind of, it was the same kind of thing where, so I used to watch this movie every time it was on cable. It was always one of my favorites as a kid growing up. And I was super excited that I found that there was a remake. The remake, while it was good for its own merits and had 3Ds and definitely upped the 3B quantity by a ton, which you'll see. It was it still was not. I'll just tell you now, it was not as good for me as the original was, but. We'll get into that next week. But yeah, we figured we hit you with a double feature after this one. So as Civil Gore sticks you with this, we come back with to make it up for you.
Yeah. All right, guys. Thanks for listening. As always, look us up on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram, and we'll see you next week.
See you later.